Am I still frozen?
Oh, you're good.
Okay. I think it was my Wi-Fi. Oh my gosh, Carrington, I don't know whether to be offended or not. Oh, hi. Okay, so just so y'all are aware, we're gonna get started in just a minute. So no, you don't have to leave right now. We will be starting in just a second. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to East Carolina's Q&R session as a part of ECU's new student orientation. My name is Zaria, and I'm an orientation assistant this summer, and we appreciate you joining us today. Today, we're just doing a question and answer session, so feel free to send your questions in the comments, and we will try to answer as many as we can. In order to make sure that we are following accessibility guidelines, the archived recorded session will be closed captioned. If further accommodations are required, please contact the Office of Disability Services. I would like to get started by introducing my fellow staff members. On camera with me is Justice. Say hey, Justice. And in the comments, we have our OAs Carrington and Ashley. So let's go ahead and get started. So while we were waiting, I did see a question about waiving health insurance, and I do see that Ashley answered that. But just so you know, you should be able to waive your health insurance right this moment at student health on the student health website. Also, your student should be getting some messages in Pirate Port about waiving their student health. So definitely tune in to what's going on Pirate Port. Because those messages are reoccurring. So I don't see any questions coming in at the moment. So Justice, do you have anything that you would like to share? What's your favorite place to study on campus?
My personal favorite place to study is Joyner Library. A couple of the other OAs mentioned that they enjoy studying there because of the resources they offer. They offer things such as private study rooms, both small and large. They also offer you to check out library materials such as textbooks, books, and they even allow you to check out things such as laptops, which is a definitely good thing if you forget your laptop. I've done that before. So I have a question from Miss Corey. She's asking, can you tell us about getting involved your freshman year? So ECU offers a event called the Get a Clue Involvement Fair. There you'll be able to meet different organizations and clubs that are on campus. We have over 500 of those organizations, and you'll be able to learn more about what the information about what the club is, what they do, and you're able to sign up for that club on site, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Also, I think of this year we are really pushing Engage to find ways to get involved on campus with all the social distancing guidelines. So definitely check out Engage as a good way to get involved. Also, I see a question. What class is COAD 1000 and should my freshman take this course? Okay, so COAD 1000 is like a freshman intro course. What it does a really good job of is introducing students to ECU, getting used to ECU traditions and learning about how to use the resources on campus. So we definitely recommend taking COAD 1000 because it's a good way for students to transition into college.
We have a question from Tammy. She's asking, where are freshmen allowed to park? So there are different parking zones across campus. We have parking areas on College Hill. We have the D lot, which is near Dowdy Finklen Stadium, which is the football stadium. We also have B2 and A2, which are on campus. They're near West End and near the main student center. So there's different options for freshmen to park.
And you should be getting some more information later on in the summer from parking. because at the moment they have not released information about how to purchase parking passes. For scholarship purposes, how can you tell how many credits you will have and when? So I'm assuming that this question is asking how many credits you have at the moment. So a good way to do that is to go into PiratePort and go into your banner. And if you look on your, let me see, I'm going to try and just do it real quick. But if you go into banner, you should be able to pull up like an unofficial transcript, and that should be able to tell you how many credits you have already completed. If you want to know how many credits you have signed up for this semester, you can go on to banner and go into registration, and you should be able to look at the classes that you've signed up for, and it'll tell you how many credits you've signed up for.
We have a concern from Michelle. I have submitted my students' immunization records twice in the past 2 weeks, but it still remains unchecked as a to-do item. Student Health Services takes care of those immunization records. They do take some time to process. So I do ask that you remain patient as they're processing over thousands of records. But if it comes near the start of the semester and they still haven't processed it, I would contact Student Health Services to see what is going on with that. Did I miss anything about that, Zari?
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered it. I also see a question from Terry. She's saying, will students be able to request a particular dorm once their neighborhood is assigned? Okay, so when assignments come out later this month, so it'll be late June, sometime around July 1st, when housing assignments come out, it'll actually tell them exactly what dorm and what room they're living in. So they don't necessarily get to choose a particular residence hall, but but once they see that, they can adapt to whatever they need in that residence hall. Also, we're not 100% sure about how residence hall, like moving through residence halls works, but if they're in a residence hall and they prefer to be in another, normally the neighborhood service office is a good resource to go to look into moving buildings, but that won't occur until they've lived in their dorm for normally at least 2 weeks. So
we have a question that's tagging on to Michelle's question from earlier from Trish. Where is the checklist of completed forms for student health? You can find that checklist at studenthealth.ecu.edu. If Carrington or Ashley could pin that so that you guys can refer to it later on.
And I see a question from Amanda. She asked, can my son buy a compatible laptop on campus? And the answer is yes, absolutely. I got my laptop from Dowdy Student Store. Dowdy does a really good job of keeping up to date with the list of accepted devices for specific majors, because some majors, their course curriculum doesn't run with certain products. But I did get my laptop from Dowdy, and the reason that is so helpful is because they do a good job of offering student insurance plans. For example, a few months ago, I actually poured water all over my laptop the day before paper was due. I was able to take my laptop over to our Pirate Techs, and they looked at my insurance plan that I got from Dowdy, and they were like, yeah, your water damage is covered. And they took care of my laptop, and they were able to pull my paper off of that laptop in that moment. So yes, I do suggest if you have the chance to look into buying some of your electronic devices from Dowdy Student Store.
And I just wanted to add on to that. Even if you don't decide to buy a compatible computer at Dowdy, you can always bring in your own computer. There's no specific requirement for what type of computer you need, although they will give you different options if you do decide to buy a computer at Dowdy.
I see a comment from Terry. She asked, is this new this year, not being able to request a residence hall? Let me see. My understanding is, I can't read the rest of the question, but no, not really. So the way that housing has always really worked is that the earlier you get your housing in, the more likely you are to get that choice in dorms. So filling out the housing application, you saw that they were able to choose um, what neighborhood they were willing to live in. But some of the students who turned in their housing earlier were able to choose their dorm. And so sometimes, like, it's just the luck of the draw. But hopefully they will be able to get exactly what they need in whatever housing they end up in. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have another question from Michelle. She says, my student has a science with a lab, with lecture and lab in different 8-week blocks. The lab in the first and lecture in the second, that sounds backwards to me. You are correct about that, ma'am. Usually what happens with science is they have a lab, they're usually co-requisites, so they're usually taken at the same time. If your student's advisor will contact them to help them fix that, and either placing that science either in the first or second week. I had a issue with that with one of my sciences for this semester, and I I just had to reach out to my advisor, and he was able to help me out with that. So I'm more than confident your student will be able to take the lecture and the lab course at the same time.
Oh yes, the spelling. So I may be speaking weirdly, but it's Dowdy with a D. So D or DOWDY. That is our student store. So yes.
So we got another question from Cindy. Her question is, will there be more English 1100 classes open? The only ones left were at noon yesterday were Jarvis LLC sections. As of right now, those are the only sections that are offered for the fall. However, if your student was not able to register for English 1100 this fall, I would definitely encourage them not to stress because they are able to take it in the spring. It's not a specific requirement that they have to finish it their freshman year. It is a requirement for them in order to graduate. So definitely encourage them to not stress about it, and they will be able to take that course.
And we have been getting a lot of questions like this. Like students are very specific. Like they're like, I was supposed to take this course, and my course plan says I was supposed to take this course, and I was not able to get into it. And there's a lot of flexibility in the university with course placement. So let's say you didn't get into your English 1100 course this semester. Well, maybe you can look on your course plan and see another course that maybe was planned for second semester, but you can take that course and take it your first semester. You don't necessarily, unless the courses have specific prerequisites, you don't necessarily have to take the courses in that direct order, and that way you get a lot more flexibility with your scheduling. I see a question from Ashley. What is something you wish you had known as a freshman? Justice, you want to take that one?
I'll answer first. So one of the things I wish I had known as a freshman was there were several different services that you could take advantage of, such as our Pirate Academic Success Center. If you don't know what that is our tutoring center. Where I remember I was struggling in one of my classes, and I thought, I had to pay to get tutoring or something like that. But what I didn't realize was the Pirate Academic Success Center offers free tutoring as well as free one-to-one study sessions with another student. So I definitely wish that I had known more about the free services and opportunities that ECU has to offer.
Yes, that was a very good point. We do have a lot of services that a lot of students don't know anything about. And even some of us today, like we learn new things every day about our university, things that they offer, which is really, really the amazing thing about ECU is that they continue to offer like these services. And even if they're small, even if there's a few students coming in, they're going to continue to give students exactly what they need. I have a question from Alicia. Do you recommend risers or loft setup? this is completely up to you or your student. You know, some students do prefer the loft setup. My sister did a loft setup this past year. She was a freshman, and she really enjoyed it because it gave her some extra space. Where her bed was up high, and underneath her bed she was able to put like a little chair and like kind of like a really cozy area for her. But it's really completely up to you. I wouldn't do the loft. Didn't do the loft for the opposite reason. I'm a short person and I couldn't get up to the bed, and it made me really nervous to get up on the heights. So I think it really depends on who the student is and what they want to do. So yeah.
I see another question from Michelle. Thank you for your questions, Michelle. Will the advisors reach out automatically to fix the lab thing? Yes, they will. Advisors will reach out to you within a week of registration, and your student can ask them how to fix the lab situation. Great question.
I see another question from Michelle. I have 2 transfer students coming and staying in off-campus housing. There doesn't seem to be a lot of information on that category. Do you have any advice for them? So I have never lived off campus, but I do know that ECU does offer some resources. We do have an off-campus housing like a office that deals specifically with off-campus housing and communicating with students who don't live on campus. So hopefully, I'm going to see if I can get that information to you so that you can reach out to them. But yes, we do have resources for students who do not live on campus. And Michelle King, no problem. Honestly, you're keeping us up right now. We enjoy getting a lot of questions from you, and we know that a lot of the parents have questions, as you should. So continue to ask as many as you need to. So I see a question from Scott. He's saying, if freshmen are interested in working on campus, how do they inquire? So there is a website, a beautiful website that has a lot of on-campus jobs um, that are offered to students. Also, normally at the beginning of the school year, there is a part-time job fair that has specifically ECU jobs. So if they're interested in working on campus, there are a lot of resources to get to that point where they can find an office and a job that works well for them.
I see a question from Michelle Meza. Do the shuttle services work? I heard there's an app. Yes, there is a app that there's 2 different apps you can use. Right? There is NextBus, which is a app that your student can use to track when a bus is arriving and when a bus is departing. So, for example, if they need to get to the main campus student center from College Hill, they can pull up the NextBus app on their cell phone and track when that bus is arriving. And then the second app is Safe Ride, which Safe Ride is a app in which you can use to request a ride. Let's say your student is studying late at night and they need a ride back to their residence hall. They can go into the LifeSafe app and request a ride back to the residence hall without having to face the possibility of walking if they don't feel safe walking at night.
I see another question from Michelle. She said, okay, one more. I was told to be announced while registering means online. Is this your understanding? It really depends on the class, but you will notice that some of the classes that say TBA will be online and some will not. So it really just depends on the class. If you have more questions about whether a specific class will be online or not, I would reach out to your student's advisor for more clarification, because they may be able to tell you for sure whether that class will be offered online. But sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. So you can't always say that it will. It does mean it's online.
We got another question from Trish. She says, "Sorry for the second question. Don't apologize. We love answering questions. I may have missed the link to the healthcare forms. So that link is studenthealth.ecu.edu. Uh, it should be pinned in the chat, so you should be able to access that link. And we have another question from Janine. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Should my son order his books right away or wait until the first day of class?" Zari, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, sure. So there's the option to order the books right away, and I don't see anything wrong with that if that's what you want to do. Some students do wait until the first day of class until they get the syllabi from their professors to know whether or not they really need the books. The good thing about the bookstores in Greenville is that a lot of them have the option to return books. So let's say you bought a textbook before classes started and he gets to his first class and the teacher's like, honestly, I'm not even really going to use that textbook. There's a lot of options to return that textbook and get all of your money back. And they do normally set a date for that. Like Dowdy normally does set a date for when those books have to be returned, but you do have the option to always return a textbook early in the school year if they're not going to use them, or if your child decides to drop a class and they bought the textbook for that class, if they dropped it early enough, then they can normally take that textbook back and get their money back. And some bookstores require just a slip that says they dropped it, but regardless, it's completely up to you whether or not to order your textbooks or wait.
So we have a question from Amanda. She asks, "When will the students know what dorm and roommate they have?" So room and roommate assignments will be emailed to students via their student email address in late June, early July. So definitely encourage your students to check their email often because they never know what could come in that could be important. So definitely encourage them to do that.
Yes, and also be aware that when they get their rooming assignments and their roommate assignments, they also normally reach out with information for you to email your roommates, and also they normally have a connection to a campus community. So, for example, normally there's a Facebook page, and only the residents of that building are allowed to join that page. And that comes in handy because with moving and everything coming up, you can get to know some of the students that you're going to be living around. And so that is really a really good way to start making friends at ECU.
We have a question from Andrea. She asked, "Do you recommend students buy a printer for their room or are most assignments submitted online?" That is up to you and the student to decide. Joiner Library does offer, I believe it is $10 in credit to print at the library. They're able to print in most places across campus, but if you and your student feel that they should buy a printer for their room, uh, by all means, go ahead and buy one. But I do want to remind that we do offer printing services across campus.
And that money for those printing services can be reloaded. So if let's say they run out of the $10, which most students don't, but if they do, then you can always reload that money and put more money on for them to print. But like I said, most students don't normally run out of that unless their major requires a lot of printing.
We have a question from Wendy. She asked, "During registration, I noticed that there are no kinesthetic 1000 courses in the second block. Could this change?" It's kind of falling back to a question we had with English. So if there is no slots open for kinesiology 1000, your student can always uh, take that class in the spring if they choose to. It's not a requirement for them to complete it their freshman year. However, it is required to graduate. So definitely, like I said before, encourage them not to stress about it, that they can always take it in semesters ahead before they graduate. So definitely don't allow them to stress too much on it.
Um, let's see. We have a question from Brandy Caps. She asked, "Is that accurate that classes over 50 will be online? Wondering if that is from ECU or just from people talking." So no official information has came out from ECU about that matter. This is a rapidly evolving situation, so we don't know what's going to be said or what's not. So I would rely solely on what information is spread through email and through direct correspondence with ECU. So people may be hearing things, but unless you hear it directly from ECU, I'd be very cautious about the specifics until they say so.
We have a question from Scott. He asks, what was the name of the app for bus transportation? Scott, the name of that app was called NextBus. That was the name of that app that they can use to track bus routes.
Let's see. And I see that our OAs in the comments are on fire right now, so thank you very much for helping us out. Is the transition of all classes into the block schedule for fall completed? And that's from Wendy. That is a question that I believe is more for advising. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe so. But don't quote me on that because, like I said, that is more of a question for advising. But from what we've heard, what we're seeing on our end is that we can see the block schedule being in effect on our schedules, and I'm assuming that that's what you're seeing as well. So, yeah, I would ask advising though for sure.
We have a question from Katrina. She asked, just tuning in, does TBA mean online? No, no, ma'am, it does not mean that class is online. It simply means that either a specific professor has not been assigned to that class yet, or there might not be a specific location as to where that class might take. However, if the course section has a number like 600, 601, or 602, that does mean that that class is online and that there is no specific location besides online to take that course.
So I do see a few questions about COAD. So I'll kind of explain it again. So COAD is like a freshman entry course. So what's really good about the course is it kind of explains ECU traditions. It does a really good job of getting freshmen well acclimated into being in college. A lot of the COAD teachers work hard to work with their students to make sure that they understand the importance of keeping up with their assignments, having a schedule, being involved on campus, and that's why the class is highly encouraged. I saw one question that was, why would a student choose COAD over taking their major or elective courses? So the thing about classes that you'll see at ECU is that you have a lot of flexibility with your scheduling. So if you have that room to take I believe COAD is just a 1-credit course. If you have that extra room to take a 1-credit course that really will benefit your transition to ECU, then I think it's well worth it. So yeah, and I see someone said additionally, so this is from the Office of Student Transitions. It assists with career development, academic skills, and life skills. So COAD is more than just like taking a course to get an A. It does a really good job of getting you acclimated to what's going on at ECU. And I saw another. Sorry, go ahead.
We have a question from Brandy. She asked, when would they receive information about the ECU One card? So if your student has not already, they can upload their picture for their One card at myphoto.ecu.edu. There, they'll be given a set of instructions as to how to upload their picture and how to confirm that that's the picture they would like. As far as One card pickup, the One card office is currently in process of setting up guidelines as to how to pick up that One card while adhering to social distancing guidelines and keeping our students safe. So they will contact the student via their student email address. And like I said before, definitely encourage your student to check their email.
I do see a question from Andrea. She's asking, what is the TV option in the room, and is cable TV an option? So TVs are brought by the students, so you can bring whatever, like if you want to bring a TV, that's fine. If you don't, that's perfectly fine as well. is cable TV an option? So unfortunately, in the rooms, cable TV is not an option. But the benefit of that is that there are TVs that do use cable downstairs in all the lounges on campus. So and all the lounges in all the residence halls. So if your student really needs to or really wants to watch something that is on cable, they can go downstairs in their residence hall and watch that show.
So we have a question from Jody. Uh, she says, registration went great and have pictures of both 8-week schedules. Now someone changed the class conflict and has a conflict that can't be in 2 places or online at the same time. They've tried to talk to the transition office. Health and Human Performance LLC sent a message to advisors. She hasn't received one and was admitted as undecided, but won't be in kinesiology. Very frustrated that was changed. Why? Also was told to go on a wait list for the class she was already registered for previously. Would someone please fix this for us? Also states English biology are online when it says internet or www. That is a huge concern, and I understand your frustration. However, I would say that would also be a question for advising because usually you don't get sent into the wait list if you're already registered, and that is very strange. So I would advise you to contact advising.
I do see a question from Amanda. How many credit hours is co-ed? So yes, co-ed is only 1 credit hour. But like I said before, I think it's well worth that 1 credit hour. And as well, something else to add about co-ed is that there are major specific co-ed classes. So I took a major specific class or a college specific class, and I met a lot of other students that were working in the same major as I was, and it was really cool to hear from them and to see how our freshman year was going as a whole. And I still am in contact with my co-ed teacher and most of the students that were in my co-ed class. So I truly do hope that you are encouraging your students to take co-ed. It is worth it. And thank you all for your very good questions.
You guys are amazing.
Oh, I see a question from Brandy. Some classes are all semester, right? Like semester long. Do you want to answer that, Justice?
Yes. So some classes are in the first block, so that'll be from August to September, and then some will be in the second block, which is from October to November. But there are a few set of courses that are exempt from that block scheduling. So like your practicums, your internships, things of that nature. So in that case, it will be all semester. As far as I know, co-ed should be all semester. Am I right?
Yes. Here's a question from Cindy. Do you have insight into why a decision was made to have move-in 1 to 2 weeks before classes start and then have students return the weekend before? I think you must be referring to the early drop-off period. So what early drop-off, what that gives the opportunity for ECU to do is for people to be able to move their stuff in a comfortable time period with while adhering to social distancing guidelines. Because I mean, none of y'all have probably gone through move-in before, but move-in is normally very crowded, very hectic kind of time, and so it was so that people were able to move their stuff in and still be able to adhere to social distancing guidelines, and before classes start, and then have students return the weekend before. So yeah, that's pretty much why. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
We have another question from our beloved OA Ashley. What is something that is a must-have when it comes to the first year? For me, definitely have like something to keep time with to to make sure that you're going to class on time or let's say you're doing laundry and you need to keep track of how long you have until you have to get your laundry. So definitely something that has like a clock or something on it is definitely helpful. I know it's helped out for me because before I came to college, I did not own a watch. So it was very difficult to keep track of time.
Something I would suggest is a good book bag, because you'll see a lot of students walking around campus, and a lot of the stuff you carry can be heavy, and yeah, a good book bag never hurts a student's back. So, or will help your students back, I should say. Um, when you
We
register,
have a,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
When you register for co-ed, is it indicated if it is for a specific major? Yes, it should be. You should be able to note the co-ed classes that are for specific majors.
Then we have a question from Trish. If a student happened to have a medical emergency, would they call 911 just as they would at home, or is there a different process? Uh, yes, you have the option to call 911. Believe Greenville paramedics are available on site. As we also have a triage unit in our student health services clinic that can take care of minor emergencies. But let's say your student happens to have a serious medical emergency, such as a seizure, you will be able to call 911, and Greenville paramedics will be able to transport you to our local medical facilities.
Um, I see a question, Randy. Hold on, I'm trying to expand it. It states limited family members. If you can't go to early move in and use regular move in, does the limit include 2 persons? So that question is a good question to ask Campus Living specifically. So I would ask them if you want to reach out to their email. We can get that to you and put that in the comments. But it was, from my understanding, limited family members is, I won't say your version of it, but what Campus Living would determine that to be. So I would definitely reach out to them for that answer.
And we have a question from Maria. She asks, with the current situation, do the students have any limitations to move around campus? For example, are they able to use the gym, library, etc.? I know there are schools that have restrictions to areas around the school due to COVID-19. So as of right now, pertaining to the Student Recreation Center as well as the library, those will remain to be open. However, they will have a specific precautions in place to maintain sanitation as well as social distancing. The chancellor has established task forces for establishing different ways to address situations that are in the best interest of our students and as well as the safety of our students as well. It is a rapidly evolving situation, as we like to say. So more information will come to follow as those task forces come to solid decisions as to how to approach these different types of situations.
Yes. And for anybody who's looking for the Campus Living, how to reach out to Campus Living, Ashley just dropped a great resource for that. It's the phone number and their website. So.
I have a question from Celeste. She asks, if a student works off campus, will the shuttle accommodate transportation to and from work? That will depend on where the student is working. If the place of occupation is relatively close to a bus route for the shuttles, they will be able to use those shuttles. However, if it's more like far off from the bus route, it might be a little more difficult unless they have a personal vehicle.
I see a question from Andrea. If we are moved to phase 3 by August move-in, will there be freshman welcome activities so they can meet others and acclimate to campus? I know that's a big help in the standard freshman move-in process before COVID. So, at this moment, we are not 100% sure about how things will look by then. because this is a rapidly evolving situation. So we don't know how it will look by August. So no promises on exactly how a freshman activity will look, but there will be a lot of efforts going on campus to be sure that students are still able to connect with their classmates and other people who are moving on to campus, because we do know that this is different. This is a very different situation to be walking into than in the past. But what we're hoping is that as everything goes along, we can get students acclimated. We can allow students to make friends and to meet their classmates even through the circumstances.
We have a question from Christy. She asked, when can we buy parking passes? Is there anything close to College Hill? So parking passes, the emails will come out from Parking and Transportation talking about when and how you can purchase a parking pass. And as far as is there anything close to College Hill, we do have a parking lot that is near Dowdy Finkland Stadium that your student will be able to park in. And like I mentioned before, Parking and Transportation will email the student through their student email address to describe the steps as to how to purchase a parking ticket. Excuse me, a parking pass, not a parking ticket. You don't want one of those.
I see a question from Brandy. I know it's directed specifically to Ashley, but hopefully we can help out as well. Which parking pass is needed for West End? So the West End parking lot, the lot specifically for West End and Central Campus is the B2 lot, and it is located right near Sup Dogs. Um, and also as well, if there's any overrun parking for on campus students, there's also D lot, which is out, like Justice said before, which is out near the athletic complex and by the Carol Belk building.
I know we said it before, but we just want to thank you guys for your questions. You guys have been amazing, and we're so happy we've been able to provide you with information and being able to answer your questions.
Let's see. We have a question from Trish. Ooh, this is a good one. Pertaining to COVID, do you know if students will be required to wear masks, or is this still being evaluated? And do you know if the healthcare clinic can provide COVID testing if someone does have symptoms? That is a great question. So, pertaining to the masks first, this is still being evaluated. The university is trying to make the best decision for all students. But when it comes to masks, it will be something that we won't hear about until later on in the summer. So definitely be on the lookout for information about that. And COVID testing. So student health has communicated to us that they will be having a place for students to be tested for COVID on campus. So that is a resource that the university will be providing. And Ashley asked, what is our favorite things about ECU?
So this is gonna sound really cheesy, but I love the tight community that ECU offers. That's what drew me to ECU when I applied back in 2018. Just seeing everybody cheer for our Pirates at Dowdy Finkland Stadium and having that tight family connection, it drew me to really embrace myself into that, and it's a great thing to have on campus, especially when you see the morale of the students and the morale of the faculty. Like they're happy to be there.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. The community. And one thing that really drew me to ECU was how beautiful the campus is. Like I just very much enjoy walking through the middle of campus and seeing the big tree, the large trees, seeing students really enjoy themselves on the mall. ECU's campus is absolutely just like beautiful during the spring and fall months. And yeah, that's one of the things that really drew me to come to ECU. Um, so I do see a question from Andrea. Is there a limit? Is there limited parking passes, or should all freshmen be able to get a pass if they need one? So there are limits to parking passes, but the good thing is that the parking office does a good job of offering a wait list to students who didn't receive a parking pass. But they are sold on a first come first serve basis. But the wait list, as students, maybe they are finishing a semester, leaving the fall semester, studying abroad and things like that, and they no longer need their parking pass, or they leave in the middle of the semester. The parking office does a good job of keeping those transitions clear, so that students who are on the waiting list can get parking spots as they become available.
We have a question from Christy. She asks, do you prefer bed risers or a loft? If so, what size bed riser should I buy? I heard 8-inch was the best. So I'm gonna say that it's really up to you and the student if you prefer to buy a bed riser or a loft. However, you are able to adjust the bed to the highest level if that's what you desire. However, like I said, if you prefer to buy bed risers or lofts, uh, I would definitely encourage you to buy those. But again, it's up to you and your student.
I see a question. Um, I think it's Deborah. Is there parking near Garrett Residence Hall for the Art and Design LLC students? So Garrett is in West End. So because of that, their parking lot would be the West End lot, the shared lot for the whole neighborhood and Central Campus. So that would be the one near Sup Dog. So B2 is the lot for anybody in Garrett.
We have a question from Katrina. Since some incoming freshmen were not able to visit campus due to COVID-19, what one of the first things they should see or do? Me personally, I would walk around campus and get a feel for it. Find out which buildings your classrooms are in. Uh, as look at some of the different buildings we have, such as Joyner Library, the main campus student center, the dining halls. So I would recommend to your students to definitely walk around campus, get a feel for it, uh, and and slowly become acclimated to the campus.
Yeah, I 110% agree with that. I think there's a lot of beautiful buildings on campus and a lot of sites to see. So I think that there's a million places that they could go that may be their favorite. Because I think we have our favorites, but your student might find their own favorite spot on campus. One place I like one of my favorite spots on campus is definitely the new main campus student center, because the building is, I think it's very beautiful. One of my favorite spots is the balcony up on the third floor. It's one of my favorite spots to study, eat, just kind of see the views of Greenville. But I think that seeing all of campus is very important, because, like I said, they'll find their own favorite spot on campus.
Then we have a question from Kurt. He asks, if a student picks undecided for their major at orientation, what classes would they need to take in the fall? So, Mr. Kurt, I would encourage your student to visit our peer website, and under Port 2, they should be able to find a course guide called Major Advisement Plan. There, they'll be able to pick classes that are based off their interests, and uh, their advisor, which they will have an advisor if they're undecided, they will help them guide them toward a major that's based off their interests and their post-college goals.
So, like Jessica said earlier, we really enjoy getting questions from you all and answering questions. Of course, we have about 10 minutes left. So, if you have any more questions, feel free to continue to ask.
We have a question from Sharon. Sharon asks, my son plans to major in business and tentatively plans to focus on entrepreneurship, but when registering for classes, the only drop-down options were for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship intended, not general business courses. Does he need to contact an advisor about this? Uh, I personally would encourage them to and definitely contact their advisor. Entrepreneurship, I believe, is a concentration, so they're able to major in business and then concentrate into entrepreneurship. But I'm not 100% certain because I'm a biology major, so I don't know a single thing about business. But like I said, definitely encourage them to uh, uh, maintain a good connection with their advisor so that they can answer this question once they reach out to them.
Um, I see a question from Monet. She asked, um, what would you tell the freshman version of you knowing what you know now if you had the opportunity? Um, I think one thing that I would definitely tell my freshman self is that change is good and that it's okay to come into college and not know what you want to do or to explore those options. I think a lot of students come into any university come in and they have this version of themselves that they envision happening and not realizing that they're going to change, they're going to grow in college, and also they like come in with this set major in mind, like this is what I want to do. And I think one question that comes up a lot for a lot of students is this really what I want to do after, after a few months of being at school or a few semesters? They're like, is this really what I want to do? And so I think the most important thing to remember is that change is okay. What about you, Justice?
I'm kind of adding on to what you said, except I would tell myself that it's okay to like take things slowly and not like not rush into things because I used to think, hey, I had to take 15, 16 credits to graduate in 4 years, uh, without truly recognizing, my comfort levels and where I felt comfortable doing. So I would definitely tell myself, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to take 12 credits. It's okay to take 13. Like you don't have to take, 15, 16 credit hours if you're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we see a lot of students who come in and they struggle with that because they're like everybody else is taking 16, 17 credit hours and like that's what I'm supposed to be doing and it's not always necessary. So definitely. So while we're in this little break, something that I would highly encourage some your parents to do for your student is to encourage them to go on to engage and look for a few clubs that they may be interested in at ECU and find out more information about those um, because so a lot of students come in and they get overwhelmed with the amount of clubs that are offered. So definitely take the opportunity of the summer to invest or investigate what clubs they're interested in. And Cindy asked, any idea if football is a go?
As of right now, the football season is still supposed to go on. However, if NCAA says otherwise, saying that we might have to postpone the football season, then they will take that measure. As of right now, our first football game is August 29th against Marshall. It will be the 50th anniversary of the Marshall plane crash that occurred in the 1970s. So it will be the opener and to celebrate that event.
Um, Deborah asked, are there any art galleries in Greenville for art students to visit and enjoy? That is a good question. I know that there are a lot of art exhibits on campus, but um, I'm not sure about art galleries in Greenville. I'm sure there are. I just don't know much about them. So I would a good thing to do is just go onto Google Maps and look and kind of explore Greenville and see if you can find any. I definitely know there is one, but I don't know much information about it, so I don't want to give you steer you the wrong way for that information.
We got a question from Andrea. She asked, any suggestions of local eateries or shops to check out while we're in town for early movement? I personally would encourage you to check out the Scullery. They offer a lot of great eats. I believe they offer ice cream. Am I right?
I think so. And breakfast is really good.
That too. Their coffee is good too, so I definitely would recommend checking out the Scullery.
There's a lot of local places right near campus. So I would suggest if you're gonna explore some local eateries to try and see if you can find stuff that's in walking distance of campus, because a lot of them do cater to students, and they are very important to the Greenville community. So yeah, if you can walk to a place, it might be a good place to look into. Where can students find info on clubs and organizations?
You can find information about that at engage.ecu.edu. Carrington or Ashley can pin that in the comments so you can refer to that.
So if anybody has any last minute questions, our Q&R will be ending in about 3 minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, it's a good time to go ahead and ask them.
We have a comment from Renee saying, thank you for your time. Thank you for the great questions. We're so happy to be able to answer questions for our parents and our incoming students.
And Deborah says her future pirate is super excited. And yes, we are super excited to have them. It's always so much fun to see the incoming freshmen come onto campus, because I think that they have just such great energy about Pirate Nation.
We have a question from Beth. She's asked, what has been your favorite class so far? Me personally, I would say public speaking was my favorite. Before taking this job, I was not the kind of person that would want to be talking in public, especially with large crowds. So taking public speaking has allowed me to develop different strategies as to how to talk to people and how to speak in certain situations such as this live. So I'm very grateful that I took that class. What about you? Sorry.
Ooh, I don't. I'm not sure. I'm taking a lot of great classes at ECU. I've been a student for 3 years, and I can't even tell you. But I will say every year I always find one class that really like wraps in what how I feel and really like I don't know, it makes me feel good to take some of those classes. This last semester, I took ethnic studies class that showed me a lot about the world, and I think that class was well worth it. But I think, let's see. OC in Carrington says English 1500 serves as fine arts credit, and that was one of his favorite classes. And I also took that class, and it was a very good class. I enjoyed watching. Mine was on comedies, I believe. Yeah, mine was on comedies, so it was a good class. But I think we're gonna go ahead and end our live. So thank you so much for joining us today. As a reminder, this session will be available on Facebook and it's or on Facebook, excuse me, and we hope you'll join us for our next sessions tomorrow. Feel free to visit our website at orientation.ecu.edu if you'd like more information. And thank you and have a great day. Bye, guys.
Go Pirates.
Go Pirates.